Me on your Tuesday afternoon. I really appreciate it. This is the Solar 101 for the 2023 Phoenix Metro Solar Co-op. So the purpose of this presentation is to give people a basic understanding of solar technology, solar economics, and financing options, as well as the co-op process. I want to emphasize this is a Solar 101, so we're not going to be digging too in-depth to anything, but we are here to answer your questions. My name is Adrian Keller. If we haven't yet met, I'm the Arizona Program Director for Solar United Neighbors. Been in this position since January and with the organization for a little over a year now. I have a background in community organizing. I also worked in municipal government for a time. Really enjoy my job here. And I also want to take the opportunity to introduce my colleague, Vincent Yurkovich, who is joining us. He will be monitoring the chat as we go tonight. So please put your questions in the chat and Vincent will be answering them. As we go along in the presentation tonight, I'll also be taking a break in between each section. So if anybody has any questions they prefer to say out loud, that is fine as well. Before we get going, I want to take this opportunity also to thank our partner organizations that we have the pleasure to be working with for this co-op. The work we do in Arizona is not possible without our local organizations who really have their roots in the community. Our partners help us plan the co-op. They help promote and share it. They help us with media events and other events we have to share the co-op. So we really appreciate their support. Chispa Arizona, Vote Solar, Raza Development Fund, City of Phoenix, and City of Scottsdale Green Building Program. They've been a tremendous help so far. So if you're here, you probably know a little bit about Solar United Neighbors, but if you don't, we are a membership-based national 501c3 nonprofit. We have field staff in 12 states, in addition to Puerto Rico and District of Columbia, and we organize primarily around solar policy issues. We're not a solar installer. In fact, we are vendor neutral on that front. Instead, we focus on consumer advocacy, solar education, and outreach in the community. In short, we help people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. And that started all the way back in 2007, which is starting to feel like a long time ago, which is weird. That started back in 2007. This is our founder, Anya Skolman, pictured here with her family. Solar United Neighbors began really as the Mount Pleasant Solar Co-op back in DC in 2007. Walter, who's pictured on the left, and Diego, who is pictured on the right, Walter's friend, they went and saw an inconvenient truth. And they came home to their mom and they said, hey, mom, we really have to do something about this. We need to do our part for climate change. Let's go solar. Anya looked into it and quickly found out that going solar wasn't such an easy process. They were getting different information from different companies. There were tax credits and leasing options and financing options to figure out. And overall, just not a lot of front-facing consumer education to help that process go a little bit smoother. So as Anya began to figure this all out, she thought, hey, we may as well bring in some of our neighbors along. Maybe we can untangle this process together and maybe even get a bulk discount if we go solar all at the same time. So her son and his friend, they actually went door to door in their neighborhood and enlisted the help of 50 or so neighbors to untangle this complicated process together. Throughout that, 45 of those homes ended up going solar. And ever since then, Anya started getting some calls from other organizations who wanted to do similar work. And Solar United Neighbors has been doing this ever since. Since 2007, we've been able to help more than 7,900 families go solar. Altogether, that's more than 65 megawatts of solar that we put on the grid, helping to offset more than 876,000 tons of CO2. We've been in Arizona since 2019. Since that time, we've been able to help over 420 people go solar. We recently crossed that 400 mark, which is really exciting to see. 3.26 megawatts total installed throughout the Arizona from our members, and they've invested more than $9.2 million in solar. That's going to help our folks save more than $15.7 million in energy savings over the next 25 years. All of this solar activity has helped to contribute to more than 54 jobs in the solar industry, and again, offset more than 40,000 metric tons of CO2 in Arizona. And this particular co-op, the Phoenix Metro Co-op, is our 14th in the state. Really excited to be launching another round here in the Valley. We've had a lot of success, did a lot of different rounds. We first kind of launched in the state, we did a Phoenix co-op or a Scottsdale co-op. Then we tried maybe let's do a Valley co-op, an East Valley co-op. Last year, we decided let's just make it a Maricopa County co-op open to everybody in the county. That was really successful, but we didn't want to exclude our friends in Santan Valley or Queen Creek who are just touching into Pinal County, which is why this particular co-op is called the Phoenix Metro Solar Co-op, open to anybody in the metro area. Also want to point out the Quad Cities Co-op, which is open and live right now as well. If you have friends or family in Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, or Dewey Humboldt, they can sign up for that co-op up there. So Solar United Neighbors, we're kind of looking at our theory of change. Why do we exist as an organization? First and foremost, we help people go solar. We want to deploy this technology. And that includes in the co-ops, but also individually. We help individuals, families, homeowners, small businesses, nonprofits, churches, a list that's continually growing. And we bring people together. That includes this information session, our solar co-ops. We have solar tours, happy hours, lobbying days. We try to provide resources to help solar enthusiasts effectively advocate for their rights. And when I talk about solar rights or energy rights, that's things like community solar. So our friends who are renting can subscribe to projects who can save them money. Fighting to make sure HOA members have fair access to solar, fair solar tax credits, and so many other policies that are going on right across the nation, but particularly here in Arizona. So like I said, we've got three sections we're going over tonight. Solar technology, we'll look at solar, what does it do, how does it work? Solar economics, we'll look at some financing options and how to pay for solar. And then we'll close out with looking specifically at the co-op model. If you have any questions throughout the presentation tonight, please type them into the chat as we go. My colleague Vincent will be answering those throughout, or I'll be pausing in between each of these sections if you have a question you'd like to say out loud. Let's start with solar technology. So how do solar panels work? The short answer is magic, or at least it feels like magic still to me. But in reality, solar panels are made up of semiconductor materials in individual solar cells. Those are usually silicon, and photons from sunlight dislodge those electrons in the panel when they hit it, creating a flow of electricity. When we're talking about solar tonight, we're talking about solar photovoltaic, or PV. The vast majority of today's market is PV solar. You may have heard of solar thermal or solar hot water heating. Those technologies still exist, but the vast majority of the market is this PV solar, which is what we'll be focusing on tonight. Each panel is made up of 60 to 70 cells usually. And like I said, they're mostly made out of silicon, but other conductor materials are in there as well. And these cells are kind of sandwiched in between glass frames. They're fairly large. Each panel is usually about 6 feet by 3.5 feet. And so you'll need to have some decent sized space on your roof to install them. But when you install multiple panels together, we refer to that as a solar array. And to talk a little bit about how the system gets attached to your roof, it will get attached with a racking system. And what you need to know is that there's generally a racking solution for most kinds of roofs. Pictured here is sort of that typical asphalt shingle roof where the rails are screwed into your roof and then the solar panels are clipped onto those beams. If you have a flat roof, your installer may ballast the panels down, essentially weighing them down, or they may use a pitch pocket system to sort of pitch them a little bit more upright so that they're getting the most optimal angle of sunlight. And to talk a little bit about ground-mounted solar, this can certainly be an option for folks who have a decent amount of land at their disposal, particularly for people whose roof may not make a good site for solar, whether that's because of shading issues or space issues. But if you do have an amount of space on your land where you want to build a carport, ground-mounted solar can be an option. Just keep in mind that ground mounted solar is usually more expensive than rooftop solar. You've got to account for the system that hooks it into the ground, and there are a variety of fixed costs associated with that. And you'll need an inverter for your system to take that direct current energy from your solar systems, inverting it into alternating current AC so your home can use it. Overview, there's kind of two different main types of inverters. String inverters will be fed through a central panel and feed all of your panels together through one central box. These can work really well for just simple installations where there's just one or two arrays right in line with each other. Microinverters do the same thing, but just on the individual panel level. They can work really efficiently, particularly if there's maybe an issue with one panel. The other panels can kind of overcompensate to make sure that your system's really working at maximum capacity. As a customer, unless you really want to get into the weeds, you don't need to know going into a meeting like, hey, I definitely want this type of inverter or this type of inverter. Your installer is going to have a preference based off of the panels you're using, and we'll be able to help you make that choice. And an electrical panel to kind of hook everything together to feed that solar energy into your home. Most homes don't need an upgrade to their electrical panel to be able to handle solar. Usually it's a pretty simple connection, but some homes may need an upgrade, especially if it's an older home. Something we always ask about when installers bid on our co-ops is how much does an electrical panel upgrade cost in case folks will need it. And good news, since the Inflation Reduction Act passed, there are tax credits and rebates available to help pay for the cost of upgrading an electrical panel. And some terminology that you'll probably hear throughout the night, I'd like to explain just making sure everybody's on the same page. A kilowatt is a unit of power, so it's used to describe the size of the system in 1,000-watt increments. So 1,000 watts is 1 kilowatt. Picture here on the screen, you see if we have 10 350-watt panels, you put those together, we'd refer to that as a 4.8 kilowatt array. Kilowatt hours are a unit of energy. So that's what you see on your utility bill. It measures the flow of electricity, measures not only the energy you're purchasing from your utility, but also what you're exporting back out to the grid from any excess solar that you produce. The average system size we usually see in Arizona is between 6 and 8 kilowatts, so usually about 7 kilowatts. Fitting everything together here, you've got your beautiful solar panels mounted up on your roof or a ground mount solar system, if that's the route you go. They're absorbing that energy and feeding it into a solar inverter, which is inverting the flow from DC to AC. It's all going to be fed through your electrical panel, which I kind of think of as the brains of the entire operation. So it's directing power where it needs to go, when it needs to go. And then solar customers will have a bidirectional utility meter. So it's going to measure not only the electricity you're purchasing from the utility, but also any excess solar that you're producing that you're feeding back out onto the grid. What's net metering? You may have heard of this before. It's a really important policy that has frankly been the driver of rooftop solar in this country for many years. With net metering, it tracks the flow of electricity to and from you, the customer. And whenever you're generating more power than you're needing, it's fed back out to the grid, and that extra energy is credited onto your bill as credit. So historically, you'd receive credit in this way on a one-to-one manner. So whatever price you're paying for electricity, that's how much the utility essentially would be paying you for any excess you feed back. However, unfortunately, today that system is going away. In Arizona, we use a system called export rate credits. So instead of getting that one-to-one rate from the utility for your excess production, you're getting a set rate per kilowatt hour that the utility sets and is approved by the Corporation Commission. And unfortunately, that's a lower rate than what used to be with net metering. So you may have heard of some people who went solar 5-10 years ago who got grandfathered in and are having those really, really excellent solar rates. If you go solar today, you'll still get compensated for that energy you feed back, but it's just going to be at a lower rate than it would have been with true net metering. And if it's helpful to folks, I'd like to run through the rate structures for both the major utilities in the Valley, APS and SRP. So if you are a new solar customer and you have APS, you'll have two rate plans to choose from. They're both time of use. So the charge of electricity, the rate you pay, is going to vary depending on the time of day, but also the time of year. And so we have here listed on the screen the on-peak energy charges, and you can see those vary. Your off-peak energy charges, which is significantly lower, like late at night. A demand charge, that is a single dollar charge per month for the highest hour of energy usage during on-peak hours. You'll see a solar export rate credit, that 8.47 cents a kilowatt hour. That's what APS pays you for any excess solar you feed back to the grid. And there's going to be some various service fees that are inescapable. So the main difference between these two plans is the one on the right has a demand charge. As a result, the price you pay for electricity is a little bit cheaper. Typically, most folks who go solar with APS go for the simpler, just regular time of use plan on the left. Even though your electricity is a little bit more expensive, you're avoiding that demand charge, which can be particularly difficult for solar to offset. Just a really rough example kind of what this might look like in your bill. There's going to be a lot more line items than this, but you'll be charged for on-peak energy used, off-peak energy used, those various fixed charges, your monthly taxes, and then you'll see a credit on your bill for whatever you fed back, resulting in a net total for that month. If you live in SRP territory, it's a little bit more complicated. SRP has 4 solar rate plans. The two on the left have net metering, so you're getting credited back a little bit more for your electricity. However, the rate of electricity is pretty low, so about 4 to 7 cents. The two on the right are using that export rate credit, which for them is just 2.81 cents or 2.81 cents, very, very low rate there. So again, typically with SRP, folks tend to vouch for the simple customer generation plan. Will have a demand charge with this plan, but you're getting paid back a little bit more for your solar energy. People who have an electric vehicle may find the last plan appealing since there are off-peak hours where you can charge your car very cheaply late at night. But unfortunately, with all of these plans, you do have a $32.44 month fixed charge that is inescapable, something that we are always trying to push back against, as it makes your solar just a little bit longer of a payback time. Again, just a rough sample of here what this might look like. Same thing, you'll be charged for your on-peak energy, your off-peak energy. But because SRP uses net metering for some of your plans, it'll look a little bit different. But same type of idea here. You'll also have a demand charge, some fixed charges, and taxes. All right. I know you all love hearing me talk about utility rate structures, but we're going to move on to what makes a good site for solar. So the orientation of your roof is really key here. Facing south is always going to be the best. That's where you're going to get the most amount of consistent sun exposure and be able to generate the most amount of power. Facing west can also work well for solar panels. If you kind of think about what are the benefits of solar panels, they help you save money, not only because you're getting paid a little bit for any excess that you feed back to the grid, but really the main aim is you're trying to reduce your overall electric bill. So if you have solar on the west side of your roof, during those peak hours, 4 to 7 p.m., when electricity is more expensive and you're using more of it anyway, your solar can help offset your utility bill because you could be generating your own power during those hours instead. East facing can also work all right, but we definitely don't recommend putting solar on the north side of your roof. You want to make sure you don't have a big tree or some other major shade structure that would shade a lot of your roof during daytime hours. If that's the case, you may want to consider trimming the tree, or if that's a tree you're really attached to, maybe solar isn't going to work, but definitely an option to consider. And then certainly you'll need enough space on your home to be able to handle a solar array. Like I said, the panels are decently large, so you'll need to have some space. One of the really cool things that Solar United Neighbors does for free is when you sign up for the co-op, we'll do a free satellite roof review to check these factors, the orientation of your roof, the shading, the spacing, to make sure your site's a good site for solar before you proceed. So what happens when the grid goes down? When the power is shut off, your solar is going to get shut off as well. This is a safety mechanism built into the inverter to shut off your solar so that no spare electrons are flowing back out onto the grid. And it's really a safety mechanism for the utility workers. If there's a downed line somewhere, they don't want any flows of electricity that could harm a utility worker who's out working on to fix that issue. So if you really want to have power during grid outages, you may want to look into getting battery storage. Some reasons to consider getting a battery storage. Like I said, if you experience frequent utility outages, if you really want to be able to power critical loads at home, think things like medical equipment. If you need a fridge to store medicine, emergency AC for your dog, those types of things can certainly make a battery very worthwhile. And increasingly, people are using batteries to help offset energy during those peak hours that we were talking about. So this is Amy. She went solar with us through the co-op last year, and she got a battery storage. So she programs her battery to automatically kick on between 4 and 7 p.m. So she's using her solar energy during the day. She's using some of that stored energy during those most expensive hours. Then her battery is recharged early in the morning when she's not really using any of that solar. So it can be kind of a cool way to help you save a little bit money off your electric bill. But really the main motivation for people to get batteries is for general emergency and disaster preparedness. Unfortunately, batteries are still pretty expensive. So it's definitely kind of a question of what's your motivation, what's your reasoning for wanting to have a battery, because they can add quite a bit of cost to your system. If you want to dig into some more details, we've got a great free guide on our website. You can download that or let us know and we'll email it to you, solarunitedneighbors.org/storage. So here's kind of a case example of when a battery might work. So the Johnsons lose power several times a year, every time the power is out for the entire day. So they purchased a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery bank. Similar to Amy, it's fully recharged with the solar system each day. And if the sun isn't shining, they have about a full day's worth of power without it. That battery is going to power their refrigerator, their microwave, some lights and outlets, their cable modem, a small window air conditioner, but it's not going to have enough juice to power their stove, their dryer, or their electric water heater. So I'd like to run through some of the most frequently asked questions that we get from our Solar 101s. First is warranties. So a typical solar installation is going to come with 3 different warranties. You'll have a power production warranty. This is a warranty offered by the manufacturers of the solar panels that guarantees that by year 25, typically, the solar panels will be producing at a rate that they were at year 1. So typically we'll see like maybe an 85% 25-year power production warranty. So by year 25, those panels are still going to be producing by at least 85% of the efficiency that they would at year 1. You'll also have a parts warranty that covers the panels, the inverters, any other physical materials involved in the installation. And those are going to range anywhere from 12 to 25 years. And a labor warranty that'll cover any roof penetrations or any damage done by the actual installation company. Those can also vary, but typically we see about 10 to 20 years for labor warranties. People often ask if their homeowner's insurance will go up because of installing solar. The vast majority of people I talk to, that's not the case. Their insurance doesn't go up. You'll definitely want to call your insurance company and let them know that you're adding solar. And like I said, most people don't see any increase. If you do, I would definitely ask why. And it may be worth shopping around for some different options. Solar panels actually do provide a level of protection for your roof. And they protect your roof from rain and hail and some other environmental factors. So many homeowners insurance companies consider them an asset. Maintenance. Solar panels are pretty low maintenance. They're not no maintenance, but they're very low maintenance. Normal precipitation is going to keep your solar panels clean. If there's a really severe dust storm or something that we sometimes get here in the valley, you may want to hose them off, or we definitely recommend calling a cleaning company to do that for you, mostly for your safety, but not something you need to be too worried about cleaning them very often. Every few years, definitely good to have a visual inspection done of your solar panels just to make sure everything is working as it should. Also, a lot of inverters now come with very easy to use mobile apps. So you can track your live production of your solar panels from a smartphone or a tablet. This is really good to check up on from time to time, just to make sure that each panel is working as efficiently as it should be. If there's any problems, you can get your installer out to help you out. How long will this system last? Most solar panels, like I mentioned, are warranted for at least 25 years, but the panels will keep producing power beyond that, and they will last a decent amount of time. They're pretty hardy if you take care of them. I've seen solar panels on one gentleman's roof in Tucson. They were there for 30 years. His neighbor had panels up for 35 years, and they were still producing power. Their efficiency is definitely going to decrease over time, but 25 years for sure, and you'll be good to go. Longer than that if you take good care of them. And what about HOAs, homeowners associations? In Arizona, we actually have a law on the books that says your HOAs cannot prohibit you from installing solar. They can put in rules and regulations that may require some sort of design review board process, but the Court of Appeals actually has ruled that they straight up cannot prevent you from installing solar. And if you're in a historic district, we always recommend that you check out the historic district guidelines, because they're going to vary from district to district and city to city. In some cities, like I know here in Phoenix, there's some requirements about whether the panels can be visible from the street. So definitely just checking on those requirements to make sure you're not jeopardizing any sort of tax status you get with that. All right, we made it through solar technology. I'm going to take a quick water break and see if there's any questions that need to be answered. Looks like Vincent's been very good. Any questions from folks? Otherwise, I will continue
on. Sherry asked, do you know roughly what it costs to upgrade a electric panel? Probably $2,000 to $4,000 before the debate, which is based on the amount of which is based on your income and the amount of dependents that you have.
Cool. Let's carry on. All right, getting into the economics of solar here now. I love looking at this graph because it's really exciting to see, but solar is increasingly affordable as costs have come down the last 40 years, but even just the last 10 years, we've seen a really significant drop in costs. Back in the 70s, solar panels were way more than $100 per watt. And we're looking at now more than $2 to $4 per watt for solar panels today. This is no longer just a specialty or boutique product that only the richest family in your neighborhood can afford. It really is an excellent return on investment, and the federal and state tax credits can help bring down the cost even more. So when we think about why solar still costs what it does today, it's still definitely a big size investment. This graph kind of helps explain why. So in yellow down at the bottom, you've got the cost of system components. So this is the physical panels themselves, the wiring, the inverters, and costs for those system components of solar have come down quite a bit in recent years. That little green sliver there is labor costs. It's fallen down a little bit, but mostly stable since the 2010s. And then this big orange bar at the top is soft costs. So this refers to any other costs not associated with the physical panels or materials. And a huge part of this is marketing. Every solar installer, excuse me, operates their company uniquely, but in general, across the board, we see that solar companies are paying somewhere up to thousands of dollars per signed contract that they're able to receive. And a lot of that cost goes into marketing, ads, hiring door knockers, social media ads. It's really expensive, and solar is a very competitive market. So installers have to pay a lot to find their customers. Contrast that with the co-op model. We, a nonprofit, bring together 50, 100, 150 people together. We educate them about solar so they know what they want. And then we hand over a list of 150 people who are ready to go to the installer. So they're able to save significantly on marketing costs and help pass on those savings to you, which is why going solar in the co-op is really the best value. Also worth mentioning here that Sun, as an organization, we take $600 from each installer for every signed contract that they get as a result from us. That helps recoup our costs and is frankly a bargain for what most installers have to pay for their leads. And that's a cost borne by the installer, not the co-op member. The federal tax credit, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, has been extended and expanded to all of our relief, back to the full 30% for the next 9 years. It's worth mentioning that this is a tax credit, so you need to have taxable federal income in order to receive this. And it will be worth 30% of the total installation costs. And that's a credit you'll get on next year's taxes when you file. State of Arizona also offers a 25% state tax credit, but it's capped at $1,000. So most people are just able to claim that $1,000. Property tax exemption law is on the books here in Arizona. So the county assessor is not allowed to increase your property tax liability, even if installing solar increases your overall property value. And we don't pay sales taxes on solar panels here in Arizona. And while we're mostly focused on the solar portions of the Inflation Reduction Act, it's definitely worth pointing out that there's a lot more in there that may apply to folks like yourself who are thinking about going solar. There are various tax credits and rebates. So some that are the same, like the solar tax credit where you need to wait till next year to claim that, but some of these are rebates, so they're structured a little differently. But if you do need an electrical panel upgrade, if you're thinking about getting an electric vehicle or getting a charger for that electric vehicle at home, you can get some money from the federal government to help pay for that. Same thing with electric heat pumps. If you're interested in switching away from gas to electrifying portions of your home, you can get some assistance for that. Also a 30% tax credit for battery storage. So that was the case, but you had to buy battery and solar together to get that tax credit. Now, if you already have solar, but you just want to buy a battery, you can get that 30% tax credit. Electric stoves as well. So if you have any questions about some of the specifics of these, there's a lot in this law, and the rules are still being formed right now, but we'd be happy to help get you some answers if this is anything that you are interested in. So what does solar cost? I'd like to talk a little bit some specific numbers here. So for this sample pricing chart, and it's just a sample, we've used $3 a watt as the pricing for this. That's actually a little bit on the high end. Typically in our co-ops, we've seen less than $3 a watt, but for the sake of a nice easy round number, both those columns on the right, we've got a 4 kilowatt system and an 8 kilowatt system. You'll remember the average system size is around 7 or 8 in Arizona. So you'll have your total cost before any incentives, $12,000 for the smaller system, $24,000 for the larger. Take off the 30% from the federal government, that $1,000 state tax credit, and you're looking at a net cost in that orange bar in the middle. And then we look at how much electricity or how much money from electricity you're going to save over the course of 1 year, 10 years, and 25 years with each of these system sizes. And you can see at the bottom, both of these receive a pretty nice chunk of change in profit after 25 years. And that's money that would have been paid to your utility, but didn't have to because you had solar. So really cool to see some of those savings examples here. And of course, depending on your system size and how much electricity you use, these numbers are going to vary, but this is a pretty solid average. Same numbers here for SRP. So the numbers at the top, the net cost of the system is all the same, but the electricity savings and your net total savings after 25 years are going to vary a little bit. And unfortunately, SRP's payback period and total profit over 25 years is going to be a little bit less than APS. And that's due to the way that they structure their rate plans, in addition to some of the inescapable monthly fees that they have. Side note, at Solar United Neighbors, we love doing our solar co-ops and helping people deploy solar, but we also have a whole advocacy and policy wing to our organization. So calling out SRP for pricing structures and making sure that we're fighting for fair value for solar homeowners is a huge priority for our organization. And if that's ever something you're interested in, we'd love your help. All right, so talk a little bit about financing of solar now. A few different ways to pay for solar. Of course, if you're able to pay cash up front, that's going to be the highest upfront cost, but will maximize your savings over the lifespan of your system. I'm going to talk about loans in the next slide, so I'll save that for a minute. Third-party ownership. This includes things like power purchase agreements or leases. That's when a third party owns your solar system, but you're leasing the power from them. Unfortunately, we at Sun, we've seen quite a bit of really poor leasing structures, or people who have come to us after entering an agreement and are having some issues. Leasing can definitely be an option, but we highly, highly encourage you that if you're thinking about going solar but can't afford the upfront cost, to look into ways to finance your system instead of pursuing a lease. Just going to maximize the amount of savings that you'll receive, going to maximize the savings on your electric bill, and also owning your system, leasing your system makes things a little bit complicated when you move out of your home. There's a variety of grants. One grant that we wanted to point out for folks here is the Rural Energy for America program. I don't know if too many people from this co-op will be able to qualify for it because you need to be a rural small business or a farm, but you can receive up to 50% off the cost of solar through a grant or loan through the Rural Energy for America program. So let's get into loans a little bit. The important thing to know with loans is that you have options, and we always encourage people to shop around for their options. So installers will often offer an in-house financing solution, and I think the vast majority of them actually do. Be hard-pressed to find one who didn't. And these can be really great options, especially they're very convenient. You're just working through the same company from start to finish. You don't have to bring in a third-party organization to finance. But we'd also encourage people to check out their local bank or credit union. There's a couple credit unions in the Phoenix area that offer solar loans. Marisol Federal Credit Union is one of those. Also, members of the co-op have access to the Clean Energy Credit Union and the Community First Credit Union. These are national credit unions that offer solar loans to members of the co-op. So like I said, you can certainly go through your installer's in-house financing company. That often works great. I think that's definitely what the most amount of people do, but always encourage people to shop around if they want to rate them maybe a little bit better for them. Home equity line of credit refinancing, certainly was an option a little bit before, I don't know, 2 years ago. Recently, just with interest rates and the way that that has progressed, probably not going to be the best option for you at this point in time. One very exciting and unique financing solution that is only available through this co-op is the Phoenix Solar Energy Assistance Program. I'm very, very pleased to be working with the City of Phoenix, who is providing the funding available for this. 10 families who live in Phoenix can go solar at no cost. To qualify for this program, you need to live in the city limits, have a household income at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. We've got those charts on our website if you want to check your eligibility. You need to be the owner of your home, live in APS territory, and have a roof that is a good site for solar. We're actually going to be holding another Solar 101 in a couple weeks from now in person in South Phoenix. So if you know of anybody who might qualify for this, if you yourself might qualify for this, we'd love to get in touch to help you out and see if this might be an option for you. But it's not every day that we get to help 10 families go solar for free. We often get partial grants or subsidies from different organizations. So this is a really exciting opportunity, and I want to make sure we're getting the word out. All right, that was solar economics. Same thing, I'm going to take a quick breather here and see if there's any questions I need to be answered. Yeah, it's a good question from Will. Can you take the tax credit multiple times? So yeah, if you, like I said, you have to have federal taxable income to be able to claim that 30% tax credit. But if you only make a little bit of income or not enough for that full 30% to apply, you won't be able to take it all in 1 year, but you can roll it over for the next 9 years.
And it has to be your primary residence.
Correct.
So if you buy another house, it can't be an investment property that you don't live in. But if it is your primary residence, then you can't apply the tax credit.
All right. This is our last section and also our shortest section, and then we'll open it up for more questions, and that'll be that. Solar United Neighbors, we have run well over 300 of these solar co-ops throughout the country, and it's really become a well-oiled machine that we consistently see positive results from. Some of the benefits of going solar through a co-op is, first and foremost, it's the best value on installation. We aggregate lots of consumers together, so everyone goes solar together at the same time through one competitively selected installer. That installer is able to offer bulk rates because such a large group, and they're able to pass those savings on to you. We also help support you through the process as an unbiased, vendor-neutral nonprofit organization. We're not in this just to make a sale or to generate a lead. We really, truly want to help people and equip them with all the tools necessary so that they can make an informed choice about solar that works best for them and their family. So we're here to answer your questions. It doesn't matter how experienced or inexperienced you are to going solar. We want to help you out. We'll also connect you with your fellow solar enthusiasts. Like I said, we'll be having an event in a couple weeks from now. We might have a couple more events for this co-op. So we bring people together and really try to give them the tools that they need. And finally, you'll become part of a growing solar movement that has a broader impact on solar nationwide. So the actual solar co-op process, is going to vary anywhere from 4 to 8 months. Right here, we're all in step 1. We're at the Solar 101, learning hopefully something about solar at this information session. Once this is over, I really hope that you'll go online and sign up for the co-op. It is free to do, and it is not an obligation to go solar, so you can back out at any time without penalty. And if you do sign up for the co-op, I hope you'll spread the word. The goal for this co-op is 150 members, and we get some help from a couple news articles that get posted about it from time to time. Our partner organizations help share the co-op, but really, truly, just people through word of mouth telling their friends and neighbors, their coworkers, is how we grow this co-op. It's a really cool kind of grassroots thing. The 4th step is all about selecting the installer. So like I said, we're vendor neutral. We ourselves aren't a solar installer. But once the co-op has reached critical mass, like it says here, roughly around 30 members, we will issue a request for proposal from local solar installers who are able to bid on the co-op. We're going to check all of those installers' bids, check their references, their reviews, and prepare all of this information in a way that's very hopefully easy for people to read and understand and navigate. And then it's important for us as an organization, we aren't the ones selecting an installer. You are the ones who really have skin in the game here. So volunteers from the co-op will form a selection committee. We'll get together one night for about 2 to 3 hours, review all of those bids. We'll answer any questions people have, but at the end of the day, it's up to that selection committee to pick one installer on behalf of the group. There'll be a sign-up deadline for the co-op. It's only open for a set amount of time. I can't remember what it is for this co-op off the top of my head. But after that installer is selected, they'll begin reaching out to each member of the co-op right away, getting a proposal for your roof with that co-op agreed upon pricing. And then you'll have some time to review your options. Usually we give people about a month or 2 months, I think, for the deadline to sign a contract if they're thinking about it. Like I said, we're here to answer people's questions, any concerns that they may have, and really help them make an informed decision. We hope that folks who join the co-op will end up signing a contract with the installer. But if you don't for any reason at all, that's completely fine. Like I said, you can walk away with no penalties and no hard feelings. The actual installation itself is very quick, usually less than a day, maybe a day and a half at max. The time after installation can take a little bit longer, as you'll need to wait for your utility to approve the interconnection for it. So the actual installation usually isn't too long, but sometimes you will need to wait a little bit for interconnection. But after that, that is sort of it. We'll probably come back at the end of the co-op, maybe 9 to 12 months from now, to have some sort of celebratory event, bring people together, and see what kind of successes we had as a group. And then throughout the co-op and even after the co-op, if people have any issues or questions or concerns, hey, my solar panels aren't working, I can't get in touch with my installer, I'm having this issue, we're always there as a resource for people to come back to whenever they need it. Just to close out, I wanted to give a couple in-person examples of people who went solar with our last Tucson solar co-op. Deanne and Rob are a really awesome couple I got to meet down in Tucson. They said it really well when they said going through the co-op was a relief because we aren't experts. It would have taken us a very long time to figure everything out. They said the co-op really was the way to go. It just makes sense, more people and more buying power. Marjorie and Michael Blaine, with their beautiful solar installation up on their roof right there, said that the co-op was very helpful. Sun did all the hard work, they got all the bids, and we really felt like we had a support system. The process was great, and I was just so thrilled that you all are doing this and that we found you, because it really is a lot of work to do it by yourself. And finally, Gwen and Malcolm, you can see their solar installation in the very, very back there, not on that main roof. But they said it's really hard to weed through all the disinformation online. Having support from the co-op made the world of difference. It gave us peace of mind and made us feel comfortable with moving forward. It's exactly what we like to hear and what we're aiming for with this. So what's next? The co-op is open and live now. You can sign up at solarunitedneighbors.org/Phoenix Metro. Please, if you do, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, your coworkers, anybody who doesn't like paying their electric bill, that the co-op is free to join and not a commitment to go solar. Like I said, I should have put a slide up in here for this, but we will be having a Spanish Solar 101 in a couple of weeks. So if you have a friend or a neighbor who doesn't speak English, we would love to have them join our events, and we can share some of those details. I'm sure we will by email. But that is that. We're going to open it up for questions here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
So people who are interested in the